Hello, I'm Nick Luck.
And I'm Rosie Tapner.
And together we'll be presenting coverage of this year's Burghley Horse Trials, streamed live and exclusive over 5 days on Burghley TV.
Yes, for just £20, a Burghley TV subscription will give you an access all areas pass to the heart of the action, from the very first horse inspection to the final trophy lift, and so much more.
Our 5-star event coverage includes exclusive previews, live interviews, expert analysis, behind-the-scenes content, celebrity guests, and masterclasses with Carl Hester and Yogi Breisner.
And when the event coverage stops, we keep going, hosting an evening highlight show today at Burghley, where we will review the best of the day's action with studio guests, as well as taking a look at what else has gone on around the event.
And if that wasn't enough, on Friday you'll be able to watch live coverage of the Dubarry Burghley Young Event Horse Final.
All this direct to your laptop, tablet or TV for just £20. So don't miss out. Head to the Burghley website and subscribe today. See you there.
Welcome to the Ratings Eventing podcast. And listeners, we have got an exceptional guest on today's show because we are building up to the 2023 Defender Burghley Horse Trials. 20 years ago, a 22-year-old, Zara Tindall, Zara Phillips as she was then, made her 5-star debut. Zara, it is very good to have you back on the show.
Thank you for having me again.
I know, twice in 1 year, like buses. Just we get you twice. It's brilliant. Yeah. Your parents both had brilliant Burghley memories. They both won there. Your mum was crowned European champion at Burghley. Growing up, that was before you were born, but growing up, what was Burghley in your house? Can you remember those stories?
I think Burghley was like the top of the sport. You know, it was like something that you dreamed of doing. And actually even like going, I think was a massive excitement as well. You know, I love the show. I think it's one of the best shows in the world. I love the whole place. You know, the terrain makes it such a challenging competition. It's such a friendly event. It's just the whole package in the eventing calendar, I would say. And, you know, we were just talking about it at Gatcombe, the community, the eventing community, your family and your equestrian careers running alongside each other.
Can you remember you visiting as a child? Did you think one day I want to ride here?
I don't know if I did think that, but I don't know. I remember like being there and I remember the kind of hugeness of it. I don't know if I was like, I'm going to do that. I don't know if that came a bit later.
What was the feeling like then in 2003? Going into your first Burghley, you'd had some great success at Bramham in the big under-25 class. Toy Town was your young rider horse. You knew him really well. 4-star debut as it was then, 5-star as it would be now. What is the feeling as a 22-year-old going to your first 5-star?
I was like excited. I was like, right, you know, this is where I wanted him to be. I knew that he was a good enough horse to be there. And, you know, the bigger the track, the better. The more galloping, you know, it was suited really well for him. And I was just excited to be at my first 4-star. It was then, would be 5-star now. I don't know if I felt any kind of massive nerves, but I just loved being there.
Is there almost that naivety? 22 years of age, going to your first 5-star, it feels quite easy, and actually nothing could be further from the truth.
I mean, now you go there and you're like, oh God, experience is a great thing, but it's also like, oh, this happened that year and that, you know, like there's so many scenarios that you kind of, the more experience you get or the more times you go somewhere, the more sort of scenarios happen. But when you're first time out, you don't know anything better. So you just crack on and probably enjoy it a lot more. But also I feel like you don't appreciate it enough as well when you're that age. I would love to go back to some of like my big successes or when I've done well and just like drink it in a bit more and enjoy it for longer, you know. It's so like, all right, next thing, and you just need to go, hang on a minute. Yeah, that was great. And, you know, we did a good job, like all of us, the whole team.
Looking back at that cross-country round in particular, Toy Town was brilliant in that phase. Can you remember the feeling of jumping clear around your first Burghley and what it meant?
Yeah, I can remember, because it was the last time they had rows and tracks as well.
Yeah.
So we'd done all that, and I remember coming down to the last water, which was the Lion Bridge. And we're coming a different angle to what it does now, coming straight down the hill to it, and bearing in mind you'd done roads and tracks and steeplechase and nearly 11 and a half minutes or 11 minutes, whatever it was, and I couldn't hold one side. I literally was swinging off him, and I don't know how we got to the end, and then I remember finishing, and my dad I was sort of, I think, 15 seconds in the side at the time, or 10 or 15 seconds, and he was like, he went way too fast, and I was like, I couldn't hold him any more than I was doing. And he was just like, you can't be that quick. And I was like, he just galloped and jumped, but I couldn't hold him. So that was my lasting memory of it.
I'd tell you what, though, the thought of being 10, 15 seconds inside the time at Burghley now.
I know.
I mean, that never happens these days.
No, that's so true. It's funny, isn't it?
The thought of that now would be, incredible. I mean, I think, Janelle Price was the only person that was inside the time last year with Classic Moe, and that was literally, I think, dot on the optimum time, or 1 second inside. It was very, very close.
I wonder if now there's more fences, though, because of taking out the steeplechase and everything, there's more efforts in the same length of time, so it definitely
it's more technical as well.
More technical,
much more technical.
I mean, obviously, it was really hard then.
It obviously was so difficult. Harder. But to be fair, roads and tracks and steeplechase and, the old long format, actually, there is now, we're 20 years on since that changed, and people kind of have forgotten quite quickly. But actually, it was a whole different dimension to the sport.
Yeah, it's crazy how... I mean, I was just starting out, so for me now to look back, I sound like a really old person, which I'm getting there. And like, I remember when I was doing roads and tracks, and like the young guys are like, what are you talking about?
Roads and tracks, what are they? Yeah.
But he was a perfect horse for that. Like, he just ate up the ground, and when they did take it away to start off with, I was like, oh no, how am I going to hold him without any of that, let alone with the roads and tracks and steeplechase. But it was a great event. He was such an incredible horse, and and also probably the last time we did a proper 5-star, because then he did loads of championships, or was injured. So then I was always saving him, so he never really got to run that many times. I think he actually only run once there.
I bet you would have loved to take him back.
Just loved to take him back, and would have been incredible.
In terms of what else happened that year, 2003, obviously the year that Pippa Funnell won her Grand Slam, and it feels like, looking back, and I've said this a little bit recently, I think we're reflecting on the fact 20 years on, that has become such a pivotal moment in kind of the history of eventing.
Yeah.
At the time, did it feel as big as we now know it to be? There was a lot of media hype surrounding Pippa's kind of challenge on the Grand Slam.
Yeah, I mean, I probably, being young and naive, didn't really notice it as much as I probably would now, because I was kind of more like focused on my journey and getting to my first big 4-star and doing that. But obviously I knew what was going on, and she had loads of team around her and lots of coverage, and and obviously when we'd gone cross country and we were I think we were on the same score, but I was closer to she had time faults.
You were quicker. She had time faults, I think. Yeah.
Granny slow pants. And then, it was obviously show jumping was like, I knew she was on the better show jumper kind of thing. So I guess it was probably quite stressful. Anyway, probably because I was like, oh, come on, Ginge, we can do a little clear. But afterwards, I was like, I gave you that one. I gave you that Grand Slam.
Looking back at it now, it felt like she had been so close. I think the other two results that she'd had in Kentucky and at Babington had been literally 0.1 or same score. It had gone down to the absolute wire.
Both times.
Looking back at it at the time, you obviously were second on your 4-star debut. And actually, once I'm sure there was disappointment of not getting the win, but actually immense pride in delivering.
I mean, I look back now and I'm like, God, that was actually amazing, and it was amazing for the sport, for Pippa to win it. Amazing for Pips. Watching her consistently win. With those two horses, it was inspirational, wasn't it? And for everyone.
Would she have been one of the riders that actually growing up you would have really looked up to as well?
Yeah, I think her, and then also I kind of watched Ginny quite a lot as well. Ginny and Toddy and Blythe and that lot as well. So Yeah, and then obviously when I started, she was obviously still going. So her and William.
She's still going now.
I did say to her the other day, I'm like, it's not time to retire. I remember going around at Bramham actually in the warm-up ring with William and Pippa and me before show jumping, and they were like, "Oh, will you tell me when I need to retire?" You know, having the conversation to each other, and I was like, "You two need to retire now."
And then she went and won.
Yeah, but this was 5-10 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So when they were like, one would win one week, one would win the next week, you know, I was like, now you need to retire, now, right now.
And looking back at other past notable Burgleys for you, 2011, I think it was, High Kingdom went on to finish inside the top 10, which was the year before London. And having sort of had the injury to Toy Town, missing out on Hong Kong in 2008, how important was that Burghley result? Not only to impress the selectors, but actually for you to kind of feel like you'd proven your form ahead of
got another
Home
horse
Olympics
kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. I think it's funny with High Kingdom, my owner, Trevor Hemmings, when London got the Olympics, said, "Oh, let's go out and buy a horse." And I was like, okay. Actually, I didn't even go and sit on High Kingdom. William Micklim sent us pictures of him and was like, "This is brilliant." You know, it was related to Mandiba, who Karen O'Connor rode. Anyway, so I didn't try him actually. We bought him and we ended up getting him to London, and that kind of process of like, right, he's 8 this year, and I was like ticking off the competitions, going, okay, like moving on, like, okay, cool, okay,
done this,
okay, next one,
done this,
So then when I was like, I'd love to take him around Burghley, he was such a great little cross country horse, and top 10, obviously a year before Olympics was great, and I was like, okay, next goals to try and tick off. So it was great to have another horse at that level who was so different to Toy Town, but just was a machine and reliable. One of those ones that wasn't necessarily going to win everything, but he was always going to be a reliable scorer.
It's one of those actually though that, like you say, you buy a horse X number of years out from a big championships, particularly a home Olympic Games, which is kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity to actually represent your country at an Olympics on home soil. And for the plan to come together is extraordinary.
Never happens. It
did happen though.
It did happen, but like if I tried to do it again, it would definitely not happen.
Looking back on London, because it was such an incredible time for the sport, it was an incredible time for, I think, all sport in the country as well.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
What did it mean, actually, to represent your country at that Home Olympics, that once-in-a-lifetime?
I think it's something that you can never explain. The feeling of achievement and honour, all those things that go with riding for your country anyway, at any championships, but to be on home soil at an Olympics was incredible. It was one of the most amazing experiences ever. Because everyone was grumbling about Greenwich, and we're like, this is going to be rubbish. But actually, it was the best thing for our sport, and it really made a difference to what horses were picked as well, and who was going to cope with that kind of track and all those kind of things. It was a great experience. I'm still slightly bitter that we didn't get a gold, but such small margins, isn't it? It was like, took a lot on myself. I was like, if I hadn't had that show jump down and some time faults, William hadn't have had, I think he had, or someone had some time faults cross country. It's all like, you take it on yourself, but actually it's an accumulation of,
it's a team.
Everything. It's a team. Actually, to be able to get the first medal for the first medal for the Olympics.
It was the first team medal for the Brits in a.
No, but I mean, at the start of the Olympics,
yes,
I think.
Yes.
This is one of the first medals.
I think it probably was, actually, yeah.
So it was good. It obviously wanted it to be gold, but it was great to kind of like kick off and just be like, right, guys, you take it from here now. The rest of the team.
What were the crowds
not
like?
Just a equestrian team, like, the whole
British team.
Whole British team.
And that was actually one of the big things about having eventing at Greenwich, because you're then part of the Olympic experience.
Because normally you're kind of stuck way out. And everyone has to travel to get everywhere to even watch the sport. So being in Greenwich was incredible. And I know you're going to ask about the crowds. I've never seen like a crowd like that. It was like a snake of like people all the way around Greenwich, and it was incredible. And I looked down to check my watch because I was like, I don't think it's working. but I couldn't hear the beeping. It was working, but I couldn't hear it because of all the cheering, and the crowd was amazing, especially when a British person was on track. And I know that a load of the foreign riders were like, you could tell when a Brit was on course, and you could hear this wave of noise going the whole way there around Greenwich Park. And it was like, when I talk about it now, I get goosebumps.
Yeah.
It was just one of the best experiences of my life, for sure.
Going back to Burghley, your last couple of visits haven't quite gone to plan. I think you'd quite like to burn the leaf pit.
I'm going to try and get past fence 7. I'm hoping that he's put it the other way around.
It's, I believe, still quite early on. I don't know if it's...
I'm going to have to go long. Oh no.
We're gonna be watching you. The listeners are going to be going, now, is she going straight or is she going long?
Then I get competitive. I'm like, oh yeah, she got competitive and ran out. He's a very frustrating horse. I set off twice. I've set off now and been like, makes the fences, and you're jumping big fences at Burghley, like they are wide and they are, on massive, the terrain and everything, and he makes it feel like there's nothing there, and you just kind of get that like real excitement when you get a horse to a level like that, and they know they've got it all in their stride. But he's just not quite trustworthy. So I really need to, and I would say, like at Kentucky, I was like uber cautious on that, and probably too cautious, so I had a lot of time. But I was like, I'm not, it's the second run of the season, and I was like, I want to get a 5-star in the bag and be like, right, okay, now we build from here. And I will have to do that at Burghley, even though he's, been going well. I just need to make sure I make the right decisions when I'm walking the course, and not get, actually, done that fine recently, or I just need to make some more sensible decisions on him, which on High Kingdom or Toy Town, I didn't need to think like that. I just need to think about, right, guys, this is where we're going.
Do you think it is coincidence that it's the leaf pit?
Well,
Does he remember?
I don't know. I don't believe that. But maybe it's just early on enough that he's just, and off that, they jump off the step and then they run a bit, and, the ground's like this. Yeah. And it is a tricky combination. If they're not quite, my father looked at it last year and was like, he didn't do anything wrong. And I was like, if I was to ride it again, I probably would have like rammed him up to it more and like got him to the base of it, whereas I still think I gave him that fraction of a space too much for him to go actually
outside
because it was a big corner, like going up the hill to it, and whether he just kind of thought, actually that's a bit too much of a stretch, even though he's scopy as hell. You don't know, do you?
You don't know. If only we knew what was going through their minds.
Especially that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Especially class affair, yeah.
Has it made you even more determined, though, that actually there's kind of unfinished business at Burghley? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, obviously we're at Gatcombe, so I'm hoping that I get to run him tomorrow, and it's, you can test him. I can test him on that terrain, and then he doesn't have another run until then. This year I've done it slightly differently. I've run him less, but every time he's run quite quick. So, I don't know. Let's see what happens. Let's see if it works.
Well, to be fair, I remember speaking pre-Kentucky, and actually it had one run and went to the 5-star in America, which was huge. And actually he went very well.
He went really well, but I was slow, which annoyed me. But then I was like, I'm not coming all the way out here for you to run out. But actually, look at when I was thinking about you when I was going round, and what I'd said about I'd had one run and it was fun. I was like, started off the first defence, I was like, I'm not sure you get my second or third run around the 5-stars what I need to be doing at my age. What am I doing?
To be fair, it was, I think, literally your third run of the season on any horse. I think you'd ridden him round. Was it Thorsby?
He was at Thorsby, and Classical Eurostar was the weekend before I flew out around an OI or something.
And then to go to Kentucky and take on a big 5-star. Listeners, there was a real grit of the teeth there when we were talking about unfinished business. Obviously, Burghley as a venue, the terrain is tough. It's a really kind of intense venue, but very friendly in its own right. It's quite unique at the end of the season. There's so much there. What is it to you that makes Burghley so difficult?
I don't know. I know a lot of us really enjoy it. The atmosphere there is very friendly. Whether it's because it's the end of the season makes everyone a bit more kind of relaxed, I don't know. But it's always had a great atmosphere, really friendly people, great team up there. The competition is always serious, and it's the top of our sport, and you've got to be seriously dedicated and on it and on your A game to be going around there. But it's still a great experience. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but it's just one of those events that really is the essence of our sport, of eventing.
If you had to sum it up in 3 words?
I think it's probably crazy, brave fun. Crazy, brave fun.
Sounds like the same name of a film, doesn't it? Coming to a cinema near you soon.
Crazy, brave fun. Yeah.
And what about the next few weeks for you? What do they look like? We're talking here at Gatcombe, and actually he's running in the British Open. Hopefully it's been raining all day, stopped raining, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Next few weeks, so he's hopefully has his final run here. This is kind of a hard month because it's getting him ready for Burghley, but it's school holidays. So it's this balancing act of how much I have to make sure he's doing enough and we're doing enough, but also give time to the kids. So he runs here, then he'll have a bit of quiet time, and then actually I'm taking him up to Scotland with me, with the kids. He's coming with me when we go and stay in Scotland, and I'm actually going to do guinea pig at Blair.
Okay.
I rang Alec up about it, and he's like, yeah, sure. But I just thought while I was up there, it'd actually be great. He can go and do a test, and there's some great fitness stuff up there, and I can keep on him, even though it's not going to be in a proper arena, which actually is great. It's a really relaxing trip for him, even though it's a long way. And then the kids are there, I can go and do him. I know that I'm not slacking off on his preparation for Burghley. Go and do him, and then, kids afterwards.
And actually, the terrain in Scotland is pretty perfect for fitness prep for Burghley. It doesn't have to be kind of traditional up the gallops, does it?
No, and I think with his runs and how I've worked his gallops, he would have done probably enough by then, and he'll have a final gallop before I go up to Burghley anyway. So, I think last year he loved it. He just thought it was the best thing in the world. So I'm hoping that we'll do that again, and then I'll probably take him to Wellington and do dressage and show jumping.
Watch this space. When you drive at Burghley,
in through Stamford,
what is the feeling?
It's funny, isn't it? I think a lot of events you go to, and you kind of like those familiar drive-ins. You're like, some of them you're like, ugh. But I think getting to Stamford, you're like, okay, you turn the corner down the road to pull in, and you pull the trucks up, and you're like, who am I parked behind? Unloading, and where's my stable? And it's all that kind of excitement and start of, right, okay, we're here. We've got this far, we've done it, and now we need to get on with it, kind of thing. It's probably quite a long time between when you arrive and actually trot up and dressage. It kind of can get a bit of a waiting game, and then it's especially when you've walked the course and you're like, oh god, did I really mean to do this?
Did I enter? Did I just slip?
It can be a really long wait. So the excitement, excitement of when you arrive, then there's kind of a sort of dip in the middle, which can be highlighted by good dressage, but then it kind of waiting game till Saturday. It's like this the whole way through the week, highs and lows.
It is literally a roller coaster of Burghley week. Fingers crossed this year it is a great roller coaster for you. Zara, thank you very much for talking to us. Good luck.
Thank you.
And I hope all of the prep over the next few weeks goes well.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Quickfire Questions with Fairfax and Favour, where we will be putting some quickfire questions, as the name might suggest, to some of the best riders in the business. And today's guest is the 2020 USEA Leading Rider of the Year. It is Liz Halliday-Sharp. Liz, are you ready?
I'm ready.
What was your favourite event?
Buccalo, 100%.
What Fairfax and Favour boot would you wear to a trot up?
Well, that's a big question because I wear a lot of different ones, but my main go-tos would be the heeled Regina, the Amira, and of course the Kensington as well.
What is the best piece of advice that you have ever been given?
It was actually from my dad, who told me to never be afraid to take risks.
What was your first ever Blue Box delivery?
It was a beautiful pair of navy blue heeled Regina boots.
Liz Halliday Sharp, thank you very much for going under our quickfire questions with Fairfax and Favour.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.